Come and dream with me.
Hello and welcome to What Do You Want to Watch, the Explosion Network's premier media podcast. Every fortnight we get together to talk about movies, TV, and online content and help you answer the question, does it really matter if old men don't like Marvel movies? Not really. I'm your host, Ashley Hobley. Joining me this episode is Dylan Blight.
I'm not talking about this. I don't care what Francis Ford Coppola said. Good for him.
And Nicholas Pryor.
Does it really matter what Nicolas Cage's uncle really thinks?
No, it only matters what Nicolas Cage thinks. And he thinks it's fucking awesome, man!
Exactly.
Do you reckon
He's even in one of them.
Yeah, do you reckon he showed him Ghost Rider and that's why he's like, no, none of these are good?
He's pissy because Nicolas Cage didn't get to play Superman. It fell through, so now Francis Ford Coppola just hates all superhero movies. It all comes back. It all makes sense.
So we got a huge episode this week. We'll be talking about everything that's in our watch history, and there's a lot. We're covering some film news. Then we'll talk about the movie that we ended up watching, Tragedy Girls. That's the one you watch, right, Nick?
Yeah, totally. It was a tragedy.
A tragedy that there was a miscommunication, and Nick didn't watch that. So look forward to our discussion on that. But first, let's jump into our watch history. And we're all a couple of hours removed from watching the premiere episode of Watchmen, the new series that came to HBO, written by Damon Lindelof. Interestingly, I watched the credit. I've only looked at the credits once, but there was no mention of Alan Moore in the credits, which I thought was an interesting thing. Yeah, he's asked to be put off the credits.
He asked not to his name to be nowhere near any of this shit.
Okay, it makes sense watching it now, but yeah. So Nick, what did you think of Watchmen?
I really enjoyed it. I think it's another, well, at least the first episode, another hit for how do you say
Lindelof.
Lindelof.
Yeah, that dude. Yeah, like I really love, I guess, the world building, the kind of, I guess, landscape it's set 30 years after Watchmen and the way it's progressed. And I can see the topics it approaches being very controversial, but I think it's great. Like, it was handled pretty well, I believe, at least from my perspective. But yeah, I'm really, really excited to see how it goes going ahead. And I really like Don Johnson, so I think he's a good actor too. It's good to see him and stuff.
Yep. Dylan, what do you think?
Loved it. Fantastic. It blew. I was already looking forward to it. I was trying to temper my expectations, I suppose. But when I sat through, I was like, damn, this is what a way to start a show. I was just like, I've got great new characters, heaps of mysteries, intrigue, fucking cool action sequences, Trent Reznor music that's I was looking for in Spotify straight away. I'm like, fuck, only the first episode's out. The soundtrack's probably not out yet. I was all over it. And then also just Easter eggs galore if you've read the comic book and stuff. In that it achieves as both a standalone series and being here's all these cool new interesting characters, especially the main character played by Regina King. I was like, she's a fucking kick-ass lady and I'm all about her already. And then also on top of all these new characters and whatever else, then there's also little glimpses of Dr. Manhattan on the TV and there's a video of all the original Watchmen that plays at one stage. There's little hints of stuff that's going on.
There's a TV show in the world based on the Minutemen. Yeah.
Yeah, they even. I don't want to go too far into spoilers, but it's there's one scene about halfway through the episode that I can't say about for comic readers, they do something to do with the squid shit, basically, which got left out of the movie. And when that scene happened, I was like, wow, we're going there. We're not leaving out the weird shit, because the reason they didn't put that in the movie was because they were like, this shit's too weird to put in the movie. We can't figure out how to put this stuff in. It's not going to make any sense. The TV show's nah, this is a sequel to the comic book, not to that Zack Snyder movie. This is a sequel to the comic book. So guess what? Fucking have a scene about that. And it's quite odd, I suppose, if you've only seen the movie and you have no context for what that is to do with. But I think that's probably the only scene that would confuse movie watchers. The rest of it, you could watch it as a pseudo sequel to the the movie and kind of understand what's happening, I guess, with the Watchmen stuff. And at the same time, I feel like you could jump in without ever having Watchmen and just have lots more mystery boxes for you to to be intrigued about. But no, I loved it. I thought it was fucking fantastic. I can't wait for more. I'm amped.
Yeah, I'm probably a bit more reserved than you two. I enjoyed it. I wish they'd explained a little bit more about what is happening.
What stuff?
Yeah, there was a lot of cutting to different times and characters and stuff that...
No, there was only one time
There was one time jump, sorry, yeah. But there was cutting to different characters that didn't have a lot of context. But overall, I enjoyed it. I think it'll definitely be something that makes more sense. Once I've finished the whole thing and I go back and watch this first episode, I'll be like, why didn't I see all that shit coming? Yeah.
After hearing you say that, I really would love to have heard your reaction after you watching the first episode of Game of Thrones. Because I reckon, arguably going into it, the same sort of things that you have no context about any of the characters and what they mean. And
I feel like that's most shows, to be honest.
Exactly.
I don't know everything about all the characters in one episode.
No,
1 out of 10.
No,
IMDb user reviews.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Some things just needed to be a bit more clearer and that kind of thing. I don't know.
I felt
For
like
me.
there was I also want to say that opening scene I thought was a really fucking brave way to start the show, and also just kind of sets the tone for them being like, we're not fucking dancing around what this show's kind of about and what themes it's going to be hitting on. We're like, we're going to, without massive spoilers, it's like we're going to open the show with one of the biggest hate crimes in American history, and we're just going to kind of recreate it and show you what it was. And here you go. That's how we're starting the show. So it's like it kind of sets the tone there and then for you about what's going on. And that's the only time jump. And then the
Was that
character stuff
before or after the events of Watchmen?
before.
it was before. It was like 1920 something.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
1922.
1923.
I thought 22,
22,
23.
22, yeah.
Yeah. Watchmen's original Watchmen
Watchmen's
was like
the 80s.
50. Yeah,
Yeah, something
original
like that.
Watchmen team was the 50s, and then the one that everyone knows is the 80s, I guess. Because there's two over time, you know. And Dr. Manhattan works with both, obviously, over his tenure. So yeah, this is way before any of that stuff happens. And then the characters, it's like I have lots of questions about these people we meet in the police force and whatever else. I have lots of questions about this event that they talk about in the show that happened 3 years prior, but I don't feel like any of that's confusing. It's just questions left open for the future episodes. It's not like I don't understand. I'm like, oh, I want to know more about that. Oh, I want to know more about that. But you need your head to go, I want to know more about that. Lots. That's what leads you to come back the next week. You know, like I don't feel like the show is confusing more so than any other show in the first episode, just setting up lots of question marks to cause you to come back for a second, third, fourth episode, you know?
Also, +1 for Tim Blake Nelson.
Oh, he's so good. I love him in anything, but he's so good with the silver fucking mask and everything. I'm like, you're pulling off this weird look so good, Tim Blake Nelson.
I think it's just because it's called Watchmen that's why I'm getting a little bit of a disconnect, because it's not. There's not. I've read the graphic novel. I've seen the movie. There's not enough ties. That it's kind of jarring, but other than that, it's great. I'm sure we'll love it by the end of the season.
Like, it's been quite a while since I've read the graphic novel, but I think you can. I personally can make the jumps of how they've gotten to where they are now, with I guess all these alt-right people taking on Rorschach's kind of his, like, I guess not what he was about originally, but the fact that he was so into right-wing media and stuff, and then his journal got picked up by a right-wing newspaper, and then you can see it kind of getting twisted like that down in the future, and then they get crazy ideologies and stuff like that from just blown out of proportion stuff. And then the cops, obviously, going down the line, even the main character explains why they end up being how they are with hiding their identities and that kind of stuff. So, I mean, it's not that much of a stretch for me to see where it's come from and where it is now, I guess.
Yeah. The only other thing I'll say about it that is quite interesting and odd at this time is there's one issue left of Doomsday Clock, which is a pseudo sequel to Watchmen as well, which I've been reading all year long, or since last year, obviously, the comic book.
Wait,
and that's
more
like,
It's been going for ages.
Yeah, it started like it's every 2 months they put out an issue. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
yeah, they originally it was once a month, and then they pushed it 2 months. But yeah, it's funny. I like sat down to watch this. I'm like, oh, so now I have like 2 sequel universes to the original Watchmen comic, and the one connecting factor between all of them, Alan Moore hates both of them. Like,
Alan Moore hates everything, doesn't he?
yeah.
Yeah, I think this one is going to be one to be. It'll be interesting to see the articles and things that come out around this, and people's different takes.
If I score,
I've
I
already
gave this.
seen some of the like crazy discourse on Reddit over it, like,
really?
you can't not like it without being called, whatever, that kind of shit.
But I have seen people being straight up just racist though. They're like, "Oh, another SJW propaganda show. Fucking, let's all fucking make the main character some black chick." Blah. Like I've seen people writing this stuff already, so it exists. But also, yeah, no, I'm very keen for this show. I'm glad it's only 9 episodes because it means it's going to finish this year. It's not going to get pushed out.
I read an interview with Lindelof saying that pretty much he wrote it as a self-contained 9-episode story, but if they decide to make more of it, he doesn't see how he can be connected to it, I guess. So, yeah.
Cool.
Which I'm fine with.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yep. So, yeah, I haven't seen the numbers for ratings and that, but it sounds like it's a hit for HBO, so something to
9 out of 10. There's my rating.
Yeah. Okay. Review at Explosion. No. So I saw a couple of movies this week. I went out and saw Hustlers. You
didn't go out. You saw it because you had nothing else to do.
Yeah, that's
Let's
true. I
be
had
fair.
nothing else to do. Me and Simon from Apple Slice / Take My Tone were in Sydney. Like, we got a day to kill.
He was in Melbourne.
In Melbourne, that's the city. To be honest, it's a blur. I could have been in Sydney for all I know. But we saw Hustlers. I think it's probably in my top 5 movies of the year so far. It is stellar. It's a story of these strip club employees who kind of take advantage of the Wall Street people who are coming into the club, and they get to know and that kind of thing. But yeah, Constance Wu was very good in the film. Jennifer Lopez, freaking impressive. Dylan asked me about the film afterwards if I think she's up for Oscar contention. I think quite possibly. It kind of is a strip club version of Goodfellas, where Jennifer Lopez is Robert De Niro and Constance Wu is Ray Liotta. So that's a crazy idea, crazy analogy, I guess. It is based on a New York Magazine article that you can go look up, but it also, the story is intercut with these interviews with Julia Stiles, who's in the movie randomly. But only issue is I wish they'd had started with that setup, like that it is an interview with her and Constance Wu. But instead they just cut out to the interview like halfway through the movie. It's kind of weird. And there's some other interesting things they do with the interview elements that are like a cool filmmaking thing that I wish they'd incorporated more. But other than that, yeah, freaking incredible. Just eyes glued to it. Jennifer Lopez is over 50 years old, and she does not look like she's over 50 years old. She has like this really awesome entrance at the start of the film. She looks friggin' dope. Yeah, incredible film. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it gets like an Oscar push. I mean, this year. So definitely one to keep your eye on if you're interested. Then I also went out and saw Zombieland Double Tap. Is pretty much more Zombieland. Obviously, the whole original cast is back. Woody Harrelson, Emma Stone, Jesse Eisenberg, and Abigail Breslin. They're great together. They've managed to recapture the chemistry from all those years back. The plot is not super heavy. It's like pretty basic. Although going back and watching the original, like in the past week or two, that wasn't like super heavy on plot or anything. It pretty much relied on the chemistry of the cast and then occasionally killing some zombies. This one's got some new crazy zombies that have evolved and that kind of thing, which it really doesn't make it that much more interesting. It just means that they have to get shot a couple extra times or smashed in a couple extra times.
Double tap.
Yeah, double tap. They are the survivors this time, which there wasn't in the first film. It was like it was just
Yeah, there was Bill Murray.
Oh yeah, sorry, there was Bill Murray. I apologize. Spoilers. Yeah, so there's more survivors for them to interact with, that kind of thing. You actually see people turn this time. Actually, you did see someone turn, but you see multiple people turn from bites and that kind of thing. And yeah, and make sure you don't leave straight out of the credits, because there is a slight after credit scene. And they also in the film bring up the idea of murraying, the idea where you kill somebody who's not actually a zombie by accident, in honor of Bill Murray.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Is the important question though? Is you're saying it's not another massive comedy sequel that came out 10 years too late, and it's a fail? It's not a fail.
No, I mean, it's not incredible. It's like fine, but
Well,
it's
yeah,
not,
that's fine.
It's not
I don't
like
need
a,
it to be incredible.
It's not like a bomb. It's not.
Well, you know, like I thought Dumb and Dumber was shit, Anchorman was shit.
Yeah.
You know, like whatever else.
Yeah, not like that. Similar tone. Everybody's kind of grown up, and it's kind of. I can see it rubbing people the wrong way. Some people the wrong way, are like think it's a bit lame and that kind of thing. But I enjoyed it. So, what are you gonna do? While we're on cinema things, Nick, I saw that you've watched The Joker as well. I just want to get your quick opinions on the film. You've obviously heard that me and Dylan gave thoughts on it.
I listened to it. I really liked it. I can't really go much into it, but I enjoyed my time with it. I think it's a good movie, regardless of other people's opinions. But yeah, I don't really know what much more to say now. Like it's a bit far gone from my immediate memory, but yeah, I left feeling like it was I guess, tour de force of acting, I guess. Yeah. I guess so, yeah.
Also, I do want to point out, because in our review discussion, Ash was like, "Oh, people will be talking about this movie for ages." Nick can't even remember what the fuck happened 2 weeks ago. It's such it sticks with you for so long. This movie, no, it's just good acting. That's all it is. Oh,
I don't
there's
know.
my hot take.
People are still talking about it, I think.
Yeah.
I'll do constant checks for the rest of the year. Make sure people are still talking about the Joker.
Keep your finger on the pulse, Ashley.
Yeah.
Keep your finger on that Joker pulse.
Yep.
It's also called right wing YouTube.
So there was another show that debuted this past week that Dylan watched. Looking for Alaska. How is that? What is Looking for Alaska?
I can find it on a map right now.
Yeah, well, yeah, you can. If you look for Alaska and you can find it, you can circle it. Yeah. So I think it's 8 or 9 episodes. It's all dropped at once on Stan here in Australia. I think it's Hulu in the States. So it's a mini series. It's based on the John Green novel. I read the novel back in the day when it came out. John Green is I've read all of John Green's novels apart from one like mini collection thing. He's the author who did Fault in the Stars, and I suppose that's his most famous thing, Fault in Our Stars. Without spoilers, Looking for Alaska is basically about a teenage kid who decides, I'm going to go not return to my usual schooling and whatever else. I'm going to go move out to a middle of nowhere-ish camping type school system. I don't really know how to explain it's proper word for it, but he's basically on a self-discovery trip because he feels like he's just doesn't have any friends and blah, blah, blah. Like the show opens with him having a birthday party and his mum's like, I'm sure some people will turn up soon. And he's like, yeah, mum, if you haven't noticed, I'm such a popular kid at school and all this sort of stuff. So he moves to his new school, and when he gets there, he meets some other kids and makes friends with them. And one of those is a girl named Alaska, who he very quickly falls head over heels for. And I think because I've only watched the first episode so far, which I would say does a good job at capturing the characters' vibes when you meet them in the book. Like it hit that notes well, but much like the book, and I felt the same way with the book. When you meet the characters all at the start, particularly Alaska comes off as a very boring character. She comes off as a stereotypical manic pixie dream girl character, whatever a proper terminology is. I can't remember. Which she does in the show as well. But because I've read the book, I know that she'll get like she has a lot more to her once you discover that, and in the following episodes we'll get there, which is good. But I would worry that people watching the first episode may just go, like, just seems like typical teen drama bullshit. Like, I don't know if I want to watch this, but it does go into a lot deeper themes by the time you get further into it. But the acting's good. It's shot well. I like how it's just a mini series, so it's like, you know, it's going to have a start, middle, and end. It's not some like Riverdale teen drama thing where it's going to carry on for 10 seasons or something like that. So yeah, I'm keen to watch it more. I really enjoyed the book, so I'm hoping I'll really enjoy the rest of the TV show as well.
Cool. Nick, so you finished watching the first season of Righteous Gemstones. What's Righteous Gemstones?
It's a show created by what's his name? Oh god, Danny McBride. It's about a family of TV evangelists, basically living in excess, like corrupt as fuck, and all horrible people, and basically just the pilot episode is that one of them gets blackmailed for their scandalous stuff, and then the show progresses from there. It's got John Goodman, Walter Goggins, Jennifer Nettles, and a couple of other actors that you
Adam
may recognise.
Devine.
Yeah, the guy from Pitch Perfect. Yeah, he's fantastic in it. It's basically a comedy drama. They're all awful fucking people, and just basically them trying to weasel themselves out of the situation they got themselves in, and just the dynamic of them with each other, being awful to each other. I think it's really worth watching. It's funny. I mean, they kind of have a redemption arc, as redeeming as they can be, I guess. But yeah, it's definitely worth a watch. Sure. And there's one song in it that I am like addicted to, like I can't stop listening to, as well. So
cool. So I finished the other big HBO series from the last couple of months, Succession season 2. I think we talked about Succession a few episodes ago, back at the end.
We talked about when the Emmys were on.
Yeah, and I watched the entire first season, in that week or so before that. I've finished season 2 now. I think season 2 was probably better than season 1. Obviously, I think it's caught on online a lot more. Every single Sunday night in America, when it airs, you see Twitter blow up with everybody talking about Succession. There was a lot more interesting characters, I think, this season. They brought Danny Houston, they brought Holly Hunter and Cherry Jones on to as recurring characters in this season. It did feel towards the end like it's constantly the family going somewhere and then talking for 30 minutes amongst each other and plotting against each other. But that's kind of what the show is to a certain degree. This season, I think the standout's probably Sarah Snook, who plays Shiv, who's kind of groomed initially to be the successor to Brian Cox's company. But then things happen, and then the other one's probably Jeremy Strong again, who would arguably be the lead of the show. As who's he play again? Kendall. Who has an interesting arc after the end of last season, where he's probably kind of hit rock bottom to get to the point at the end of the season, which kind of shocked people involving his character. So yeah, Succession, check it out. Yeah. So Nick, I've got a couple of movies I want to ask you about that you've seen, and you've got lists on your Trakt. Obviously, based on your Joker response, I don't know how much of a response I'm going to get out of you, but I'm going to ask anyway. First up, The Babushkas of Chernobyl.
Yeah, that's a documentary about basically these old women that are living in the exclusion zone of Chernobyl. They were evacuated, obviously, when it first happened, but then they had nothing and no one, so they went back living in the exclusion zone. It's basically the way they live and the fact that they're still surviving despite all the obvious dangers and stuff, how they're living off the land. But it's also weirdly intercut with, like, following these people trying to break into the zone as well, which is out of place and kind of weird. which I guess they didn't have enough footage, I guess, to do a full-length documentary feature, so they had to add something else into it, which kind of brings it down. But it's really, overall, it's a really sad documentary about all these women and basically, how they live and the hardships they go through. But it's definitely worth a watch, especially if you're interested in that kind of history and learning about that.
Okay. You've got The Midnight Meat Train.
Yeah, that's based off a short story by John Carpenter. It's been a while since I had seen it, and I wanted to watch it again because I was in the mood for some horror films, and I enjoyed it then. I still enjoy it now, probably not as much as I did, especially after reading the short story recently. It's definitely not as good as the book, and some of the visual flares, I guess, are kind of cringeworthy now. It's still got
the Vinnie Jones thing, right?
Vinnie Jones, and Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, Clive Barker.
Yeah. Is that what I said?
No.
Oh, John Carpenter. Yeah, Clive Barker, I apologise. Yeah. It's worth watching. It's got strong ideas behind it. And the way the story pans out is definitely very intriguing, but it's all whether you can stomach, I guess, that kind of visual effects and gore.
Cool. And then you watch The Autopsy of Jane Doe.
Yeah, that was quite bad. It's about, this also has Brian Cox from that other show, but basically there's this murder scene and this body that's not connected to any of it. They take it to this coroner, which is a father and son, Brian Cox, and I forget who the other actor is, and basically it's a trapped room house kind of horror where just shit starts happening to them, spooky kind of stuff, and it's not very good. The acting's not great. The special effects aren't great. The story wasn't great, so avoid this one.
Cool. Alright, before we move into our Netflix segment, there is one movie that you guys needed to watch as punishment for not being as good at Emmy predicting as I did. The Golden Raspberry Award winning Holmes and Watson. Nick, do you want to give us your thoughts? Because I think it was less of a punishment for you because you felt like you were going to watch it anyway.
Yeah. It is not a good movie by any stretch of the imagination, but I definitely had some laughs in it. It wasn't a complete waste of my time. It's basically a parody of the fucking Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes movies intertwined with kind of modern day kind of pop culture thrown back into history. There's an obvious UFC kind of knockoff thing happening, and just basically, I don't know. It if you like Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly comedy, I mean, I guess you can find some value in it, but I wouldn't rush out and go see it.
Okay, Dylan, how do you feel about Holmes
I can't
and Watson?
believe that Ralph Fiennes and Rebecca Hall agreed to be in this piece of shit.
And it was directed by Ethan Coen.
Yeah. No, Ethan Coen.
Not one of the Coen brothers.
Oh, that's because I was quite drowsy when I started to watch it.
No wonder you liked
Coen,
it.
I was like, what the fuck?
No wonder you liked it. No, this movie was terrible. This movie was bad. It's not funny. I didn't laugh once. I would have turned it off if I could. I saw it through. I did my. I took my punishment full, but it was just boring. It was just boring. I have to watch two people, and by two people I mean Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly up on there doing stupid accents, doing stupid jokes, and I just want to slap them and tell them, remember when you did Step Brothers? Remember that movie where you were silly together but it was funny? This is trash. Fuck off. That's my review.
Cool.
3 out of 10.
Ooh. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to Oscar predictions. I can inflict punishment.
Did you not watch it, Ashley?
No, because it wasn't my punishment.
You already watched it because he was like...
No, I hadn't watched it. I hadn't watched it.
Oh, I thought you watched it like a month ago. He was like, I
Nope.
didn't mind it.
No. Good times.
Well, don't watch it. It's shit.
Good to know. All right, let's move into the mandatory Netflix segment of the show. And the internet event of the past couple of weeks, El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie, dropped on Netflix. Sorry to report that I never got around to watching all of Breaking Bad and El Camino since it was announced that it was coming.
I'm sure you can binge it in 2 days. Like
You shouldn't have gone to PAX. Like, do your job properly. Don't go to PAX. Should stay at home and just binge Breaking Bad.
No, I've been binging a lot of other stuff, so we'll talk about that in a
He
second.
can't watch anything that'll knock season 8 of Game of Thrones off his top list.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's really up there. Yeah, so Nick, what'd you think of El Camino? Was it necessary?
Oh, most certainly wasn't necessary, but I enjoyed my time with it. It's just basically an extended episode of Breaking Bad, I felt like. It's slow and plotting, but that's what Breaking Bad is. The acting was good. There was some heartfelt moments. It was good to see the actors and characters on screen again, although it did feel kind of jarring seeing how some of them have aged, especially Jesse Plemons.
Yeah, I saw an article that was like, why don't the actors look like the same as at the end of the show? It's like,
I think everyone's being very
because there were
mean
8 years
to him.
in the between.
People are being
understand.
very mean to Jesse Plemons. People just keep pointing out how he's put on weight since
I
he
mean,
was on.
that's life, but like, I guess it took me out of the experience, especially after doing like a YouTube recap, just to get my mind back to where it was. It was very jarring seeing the difference, I guess. I mean, like, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, but as a viewer experience, it's kind of off-putting, but, yeah, like, I feel about it almost similar to the way Deadwood is. The Deadwood movie was. It didn't need to happen, but as opposed to Deadwood, this was very well done, whereas Deadwood was a cash-in, I guess.
Cool.
I mean, it didn't really tell anything to us. It didn't really say anything to us that we didn't already assume. Well, I personally had assumed what happened. Like, he got away and whatever.
Cool. Dylan, do you agree that this was an unnecessary movie?
I think that question is the one that everyone's like asking about this, and I just think it's a weird way to tackle it because the answer I think is just by default no, because it's from a TV show that had a finale that everyone loved. You know, like everyone loves the finale of Breaking Bad, so by default, did we need more following that? I think the answer just on default's no.
I guess
Yeah.
it's not subtractive to the overall whole.
Yeah.
This is not additive either.
No,
It's-
I think the reason that this works, and I love this, I'd probably give it like a 9 or something. I once again, let me put out there that I'm a big Breaking Bad fan. Breaking Bad's probably top 3 TV shows, so maybe a little bit biased, but it's everything I would have wanted from it. And I think the reason it works is because Vince Gilligan knows what he's making, and he knows he's just making an epilogue. He's not trying to make something that adds to Breaking Bad's story as a whole. He's just making an epilogue that explains what happens to Jesse. And like, I've thought about what happens to Jesse. Like, I've fan theoried and thought about it in my head, of course, over the years and stuff like that. And it's like pretty much what I thought would happen is pretty much what happens. And that's fine by me. You know, like I wasn't going in expecting big moments and I also think like my expectations are somewhat tempered because I listened to the Better Call Saul podcast where Vince Gilligan and like the rest of his team of writers and people are on there. And they always talk about how whenever they're writing Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul or anything, they always just try to write realistically. They don't try to write to make something cool happen. They always just try to write what makes sense for the characters in the moment. And they've talked about this before where it's like, if we're writing for the characters and it leads to something like flashy happening that's going to be like make a cool television moment or like an action scene or something like that, then they're happy to reach that point. But they don't try and like make the action point or the cool thing meet the characters halfway in the middle, you know? So they write from a character perspective. And I think the other thing that makes this work so well is that because a lot of the movie is just people talking gibberish. And by gibberish, I mean, like, it's not plot. It's just character story happening. And it works because Vince Gilligan, you can tell he loves his characters so much. There are so many moments in this where characters are just speaking, and it's the first time we've seen them in 10 years. And you can just tell it's just Vince Gilligan just happy to have these characters back on screen. And even if you only get some of them for a couple of minutes, you just know that in his mind he has so much more backstory for like what they were doing and like what happens after this and so on and so forth. I just feel like watching it, you can feel the love he has for his world that he's created between Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad and now this, between all these characters and stuff. It's shot beautifully. Aaron Paul absolutely acts his fucking ass off in this. Everyone else is great as well, but of course it's mainly just from his point of view. And yeah, I thought it was a fantastic epilogue to the thing. It's like, you know, when you read the final chapter of a book, it's like chapter 33, you turn the page, epilogue. That's what this was, the epilogue.
Cool. So do you want more Breaking Bad movies, or you're like, no,
Nope.
that's enough?
No, this one made sense. Like there was a story there. It's not like they pulled the story out of their ass. It was as much as the finale of Breaking Bad is great, and I love it, and I think it's like pretty close to a perfect finale of most TV shows, since most TV shows fuck it up, I think. The one thing they did screw up in that finale was where they left Jesse. And I feel like that's the thing that Vince Gilligan felt as well. A lot of people felt like they kind of screwed Jesse over in the finale because they didn't give him enough time to find his inner peace. You know, like he just doesn't get that. And this movie lets him get peace as a character, which is good because he deserves it, because he went through so much fucking shit. And also the way this movie deals with him and dealing with his PTSD that he has, I thought was like really well done as well, because he'll like wake up and he's just dreaming. Well, spoilers for the last season of Breaking Bad, but he spends like all this time locked up inside of a cage by this bikie gang who's like keeping him to basically cook drugs. And then at the end of Breaking Bad, he escapes. So this is like him after that. But then he's like waking up in rooms like free, but he's still like thinking he's like locked in the cage and like all this sort of stuff and freaking out constantly. So it deals with that side of the stuff quite well, I thought. And that's where Aaron Paul really gets to like act his ass off, of course.
Cool. So I'm just going to go through some shows that I reviewed for ExplosionNetwork.com. You can find them all there. First off, Living With Yourself, the new series starring Paul Rudd and Aisling B.
Rudd and Paul Rudd.
And Paul Rudd again. Yeah, so pretty much the premise is Paul Rudd's like in a marriage. He's kind of in a rut with his job and everything. His wife, they're trying to get pregnant or whatever. He ends up, his co-worker at work recommends this secret day spa that he went to previously, and like it turned his life around. So he ends up going there, taking part of this the spa treatment. Gets put to sleep at one point, and then he wakes up in like a plastic bag in a shallow grave, in nothing but like a diaper. And then he makes his way home like in nothing but a diaper and like walking all the way, and finds that there's a cloned version of him in his house, with his wife. And that's pretty much the jumping off point. He was meant to get killed and the clone version was meant to take over. But it's pretty much, while some shows would like explore the premise of clones and what's that mean and that kind of thing, this is more like a character relationship thing where it's just these two versions of himself trying to deal with being in existence at the same time. Because the clone version is somehow they use they alter the DNA, is what the spa people say, to make it like a better version of himself. They do it like in a subtle way. He like dresses nicer, and when they go to like a diner together, the original version orders a burger and a Coke, and the new version asks for a fruit cup and green tea. You know, so that kind of like basic being better kind of thing. And they do a really good job of showing a way in which how the cloning would be effective, with a certain cameo that I think Nick would appreciate.
Yeah, I've read about it.
Yeah, it's very funny. But yeah, it doesn't really go anywhere. It doesn't really feel... It's a fine show, but it's not like super weird or interesting or too hilarious or anything. There's like a couple of gags here and there, but I enjoyed it, but it's not like one of the best shows of the year. It's adequate.
So it doesn't go philosophical.
Not really, no. Which I think would have been more interesting. The clone kind of knows he's the clone straight away, which kind of kills it a little bit, I think.
I think that's a missed opportunity. I think that's a missed opportunity. I think those kind of questions and exploring that kind of thing is where cloning stories are and that kind of stuff shines.
You can just go watch Multiplicity again. You know, it's very similar to that. Then I watched Daybreak, which is this new teen apocalypse film, which is set in like LA. Some sort of bombs drop after the president like provokes enemies from across the world, and they drop these bombs that have some sort of biochemical weapon that pretty much kills anyone over the age 18, or turns them into ghoulies, which is essentially zombies. So yeah, then the world changes and everything. We follow this kid called Josh Wheeler, played by Colin Ford, who is pretty much like a survivor guy who knows how to survive in the apocalypse because he's Canadian, which makes sense. And he's chasing his one true love, Sam Dean, who he was dating like before the apocalypse, but they got separated. And he comes along with a cast of characters, including a 10-year-old girl who's like a pyromaniac and this kind of genius-esque person. And then his old bully who's turned into like a samurai pacifist in the apocalypse. It's a fun show. I really enjoyed it. They go all over the place. Just in the first episode, Josh just breaks the fourth wall, talks to the camera. There's very much a Ferris Bueller's Day Off vibe, which is only
Matthew
enhanced.
Broderick's in it.
Yeah, it's only enhanced by the fact that Matthew Broderick's in the show as the school principal. It looks like he's having a blast the entire show, so he gets to do some interesting, fun stuff, playing against type a little bit. But each episode, first two episodes are like Josh narrating and sort of breaking the fourth wall and explaining everything that's happening. But after that, they kind of switch it up with different people narrating each episode in different ways. The episode focusing around the pacifist Wesley is narrated by a RZA.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that's a lot of fun. And then there's another episode that's like intercut with like sitcom-esque scenes of flashbacks and that kind of thing. It is like super flashback heavy because that's like how they delve into all the different characters and that kind of thing. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think it's really good.
Does it have really ridiculous action? Because I just looked up the dude who created
not really.
It, and it's like
there's no
the
like
guy
ridiculous...
who did Rampage and San Andreas created the TV show. I'm like, okay.
No, there's no like ridiculous action moments or anything. There's like killing occasional zombies and the kid. It's kind of one of the jocks have become like a Mad Max-esque group where they all wear helmets and different things and like football pads and that kind of thing all the time and like chase other people down and have vehicles with like spikes on them and all that kind of thing. And they get into fights and that kind of thing, but there's no like huge action beats. The only thing that probably translates from his previous work is the terrible CGI, because all the animals like get transformed or whatever. There's like this terrible huge pug that is not very well done in CGI. So yeah, so Daybreak, I enjoyed it. And then the other show, I watched the first part of season 6 of BoJack Horseman, which is the entirety of what they've released so far. They've released 8 episodes. Going in, my biggest concern was that it would feel like they just split one season in half, and for the sake of stretching it out. There is a point to the split. It definitely feels like they built to a mid-season break, like you have a lot with the network TV shows over in America. So I'm really happy about that. We get it kind of, yeah, so the first 4 episodes are kind of individual characters all sort of separated and having their individual stories told of where they are after last season, and then the last 4 episodes kind of is everybody coming together a bit more, and then the last episode is like setting up for potentially what's going to happen for the last 8 episodes. And
this is the last season.
This is the last season. I love the show. BoJack is not the greatest character or like the greatest horse person, but I am
Role
invested.
model?
Yeah. What?
He's not the greatest role model. Is that what you're trying to say?
That too. Yeah, obviously.
So when you say he's not the greatest character, do you mean not in quality wise?
Yeah, in morality wise.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
That's what I was saying. Like,
he's
not the
flawed
greatest
in that
role
kind of
model.
thing, but he's looking to improve himself the most that he has in all the previous seasons, and it looks like that's all going to come crumbling down in the last part of this final season. So
Dun,
looking forward
dun,
to seeing that.
dun.
Dun dun dun. But yeah,
Second
there's some
part
great
comes out
gags.
January.
There's this great episode where Mr. Peanut Butter is with his fiancée and just revealed that he cheated on her, and unfortunately Aaron Paul's character Todd has arranged for a surprise wedding in his house but he tells her before they come in. So it's like this awkward scene of everybody trying to hide while they have this argument for like 20 minutes. It's good.
That's fun.
In the animation, it looks good. I'm not
That's relatable.
doing it justice. But yeah, there's no like fantastic episodes. Like I felt like there's been at least one last couple seasons, but hopefully that's in part 2. So yeah, BoJack Horseman. If you haven't seen BoJack Horseman, now's the time to catch up because it's going to end in January next year. And then Nick, I saw that you watched season 3 of Big Mouth.
Yep.
How was that?
Big mouth. Big mouth.
It's just more Big Mouth. Like, it's funny, crude. If you enjoyed the first 2 seasons, I can't see why you wouldn't enjoy this one. But yeah, like it's introduces. Does it? Yeah, it introduces some new characters, but which were quite additive, I guess, and funny, like some more hormone monsters and whatnot. But yeah, it approaches more of the.
Well, I know
gender
Ali Wong's
spectrum
in.
and-
Ali Wong's in
Yeah.
it. I saw that in
Yeah.
the trailer.
Yeah.
It approaches more of the gender spectrum and sexuality and that kind of stuff, but quite funny, informative, I guess. Yeah, it's definitely worth a watch.
Cool.
I just find it because I haven't watched. I've still only watched the first season, but like every time it comes out, like the keyword people use to describe the shows, that it's like this show's outrageous and stuff. I'm like, it's funny that like that's how everyone describes the show, yet the show's actually trying to be very progressive.
Yeah, progressive and educational, I guess.
Yeah, it's trying to be like that at the same time, but then everyone's like, this show's like fucking South Park, man, it's so fucking outrageous, and this shit. I'm like,
Well,
it's very.
it's because they're talking
Yeah,
about
so-
a taboo subject matter.
Yeah,
No, it is. It's just I like it though because people always like to make that remark about like it proves a point that you can actually still do that type of humor without the super offensive jokes, because people always make that remark about fucking everyone only like SJWs hate South Park and stuff. I'm like, well, no, but
Friggin' Todd
Big
Phillips
Mouth-
coming out here saying nobody can make jokes.
Big Mouth is actually trying to be like rather progressive, but still make really outrageous humor at the same time. And I like how it proves a point that you can actually do both. Yeah.
Cool. So that is everything that we've been watching this last couple of weeks. It was a lot. So let's move into some film news. And the biggest news, in my opinion, is the newest announcements around the Batman movie coming from Matt Reeves, starring Robert Pattinson. We got confirmation that there is a Catwoman. Should be played by Zoe Kravitz. And we also... Jonah Hill's a deal, apparently, that was in the works to play the Riddler fell through. And within 2 days, it was announced Paul Dano was going to be filling the role as the Riddler. I'll just say right off the bat, I'm super happy that Paul Dano's playing the Riddler. It's a way better choice. And I think the speed in which that announcement was made means that he was probably Matt Reeves' choice to be the Riddler. And that it was like a executive thing. We need a big-ish star to play the villain. Let's throw all our money at Jonah Hill. But obviously they didn't have enough money to throw at him.
Yeah, Paul Dano seemed, in my mind, is a much, much better fit for the character than Jonah Hill.
But yeah, Nick, how do you feel about those two casting announcements?
I love Zoe Kravitz and everything that I've seen her in. Paul Dano is a fantastic character actor. I think he can bring justice to the Riddler. The Riddler's my favourite Batman villain, so yeah, I'm excited to see this. I just hope Batman doesn't have any milkshakes.
Yeah. Dylan, what are your thoughts?
I'm really looking for the more we hear about this movie, the more I'm getting really, really excited for it. Like it's hit after hit as far as I'm concerned. Like Matt Reeves, love it. I loved Ollie's work over the last couple of years on the Apes films, obviously the most recent stuff he's done. You got Rob Pattinson, which I'm big fan of, and then you chuck in Zoe Kravitz. You're like, hey, she's going to play Catwoman. I'm like, fuck yes, that's like amazing casting. And then Paul Dano as a Riddler. I'm like, fuck yes, that's amazing casting. I feel like they're just like hit after hit after hit. And then they also confirmed that Giacchino was going to do the soundtrack.
So they announced that Michael Giacchino is going to be composing. He's done Incredibles, he's done Lost, he did Star Trek, and then they also announced that Greg Fraser is going to be the cinematographer who had previously done Rogue One and Zero Dark 30, and the two of them had worked with Matt Reeves previously on Let Me In. So
Is it connected to the greater DC universe,
No.
or is it its own thing?
Well,
No.
not unless it's super successful. Then they'll be like,
Yeah.
let's
I
try this
think
in.
that's what they'll do. Yeah. I
So-
think that's
so
what they'll do.
They've abandoned the Wonder Woman Justice League thing.
No one
It's
yes.
unclear. It is unclear.
Yeah.
Which
Who
I
cares?
think-
Who cares? Who gives a fuck? Just make good movies.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I think DC should go down the route of just making good solo films, not try and force a connected universe.
Joker's proven. I think Joker's going to kick that door open for them because obviously that's been a huge success and that's like its own thing, standalone movie. So they're not going to have any problems with that. What was of one earlier? Shazam. Even though they kind of teased
Shazam.
it's connected, they didn't like officially connect it. You know what I mean? And that wasn't like a massive like critics 10 out of 10s, but it did review quite well and it financially did pretty well. Like it wasn't like a smash, but it did pretty well as well. So I think they're just having a lot more luck recently, just like focusing on movies as solo things. So yeah, it's going to be the Batman with this amazing cast and all these amazing people behind the camera and doing the fucking score and shit. So you know, I'm pretty pumped. I'm pretty thin.
I like that course of action. It just allows creators to be a lot more creative, not trying to fit down I guess the way the MCU treats their thing down a specific vision they're all going down, whereas I guess this particular approach you can have more
Freedom.
unique, I guess.
Yeah.
films,
Oh. And Jeffrey Wright's supposed to be Gordon, right?
Yep, that was the other one. Yeah, Jeffrey Wright is rumored to.
Boy.
Yeah, so that is very impressive, and it's not. Apparently, they're going to be adding more people because apparently there's going to be more villains. But I think it is probably going to be one of the best films. Easily, probably one of the best DC films we've seen in a while. Depending on how you feel about Wonder Woman.
Everyone's shitting on the Joker over here.
Yeah. I mean, the Joker's fine, but I feel like as a superhero film, it's going to be.
Well, I'm saying that because
Well, it's not a superhero film.
comic
I
book
guess.
movie.
It comic book hero movie. It's confusing. But
I'll say this, but I do want to put it out here on this podcast that as much as I hated Suicide Squad, I am quite optimistic about Birds of Prey.
Okay.
Yeah. Simply because I like a lot of the cast. I like people behind the camera on that as well, and I'm just hoping it's going to. And I it just feels like they're going for something unique and different and exciting. And I like seeing Ewan McGregor in it. He looks like he's having fun. So, like, I just want to note that I really don't like Suicide Squad. I think it's crap. I didn't like her version of Harley Quinn in that movie. I'm open to being, like, getting on board with it, potentially in this, when they expand it and make it into an actual character, not just a Halloween costume, which is all they thought Suicide Squad version of her was. You know what I mean? It's just a fucking meme, basically, a sex symbol version of Harley Quinn that was then turned into just a bunch of fucking Halloween costumes and stuff. I'm ready for an actual character, which it seems what we're getting here. So that could be good. And then the Batman looking great. Joker's looking great. You know, like, DC seems to be on the up and up, to be honest, lately.
Yeah, I mean, they've got Birds of Prey and Wonder Woman next year, and then they'll have Batman 2021. So, I mean, that's a pretty good trajectory. Maybe they'll get someone to finally do The Flash. The Rock said in a recent interview that on Twitter that he's going to be shooting Black Adam next year. So, yeah.
And I'm pretty keen for Wonder Woman as well because it's the same people. So still got Patty Jenkins there. So I really like the first one. So yeah, DC's on the up and up. I think it's fine.
They're on the improve. Yeah.
Yeah.
So other piece of news, we found out some more news about an upcoming Disney remake. Robert Zemeckis looks like he's going to be the one to bring Pinocchio to live action for Disney. The previous director, Paul King from Paddington, had dropped out apparently, and Robert Zemeckis is the person that they're going to look to replace him. So, I mean, in my opinion, this is a win because that means we can get Paul King to go make Paddington 3, which would be the best possible outcome out of all of this, in my opinion. Do you agree, Nick? Dylan?
I would happily take Paddington 3 over fucking Pinocchio.
But how do you feel about Robert Zemeckis doing a Pinocchio movie?
I don't think he's done a good movie in quite some time. I've got that Allied thing or whatever it's called sitting down here on 4K Blu-ray. I haven't watched it yet, but other than that, I feel like these days I feel like Robert Zemeckis' name isn't like a standard of quality. Like everyone thinks about Back to the Future, obviously, but I don't think he has a high caliber recently. So, I wouldn't put my full faith in him.
Nick, do you have any?
Did Beowulf gets excited? Beowulf.
Not really. I haven't seen any of the live action Disney movies, and Pinocchio is not the one that's going to make me go out and see it.
No? Okay. Yeah, I've been different about this movie. Especially considering that there was apparently a Paul Thomas Anderson version and in the works at one point with Robert Downey Jr. As Geppetto. And then you've also got the Guillermo del Toro version of Pinocchio that's coming to Netflix at some point. This is the least interesting of all those options. So, yeah. Pinocchio. Then we got a weird story come out. Daniel Kaluuya is going to be producing a new movie for Barney and Friends.
Fuck yes.
Barney and Friends was extremely popular in the 1990s and it lasted most of the 2000s. It became famous for the constant use of the song I Love You, You Love Me, which got stuck in the heads of anyone who happened to be near a television when the show was on. And the show was popular that it was turned into a feature film called Barney's Great Adventure in 1998. So Kaluuya is teaming up with Mattel Films on the subject. He said, Barney was a ubiquitous figure in many of our childhoods. Then he disappeared into the shadows, left misunderstood. We're excited to explore this compelling modern-day hero and see if his message of I love you and you love me can stand the test of time. And then Robbie Brenner from Mattel Films says, working Daniel Kaluuya will enable us to take a completely new approach to Barney that will surprise audiences and subvert expectations. The project will speak to the nostalgia of the brand in a way that will resonate with adults while entertaining today's kids. Is Daniel Kaluuya going to shoot Barney in the head?
Let's hope not.
I can't see him doing anything too outrageous considering it's, I guess, what he's known for. I guess they might want to protect his image. But yeah, I didn't grow up watching Barney. I don't really have much of a history with him. So if reports are that it's good, I might go out and see it. But I'm not motivated to go see it.
Did you watch Barney as a kid, Dylan?
Yep. Me and my brother had a lot of Barney. Brother had a Barney, like stuffed doll thing he like slept with for ages when he was little and stuff. So yeah, I'd hear that song a lot when it was like, I love you, you love me. But yeah, it was good. It's just, I don't remember much about it. It's just obviously one of those things that like I watched a lot as a kid. That like if I see Barney, I'm like, yeah, it's fucking like Barney, awesome, like I had to watch that. I have no idea what was happening in the episodes. It was just a lot of like be nice to each other and let's all hug and like that's the type of, it was a young kids show. So if they want to age it up a bit and make it like more of a like an actual like kind of Pixar audience group type thing where like adults could watch it with kids and enjoy it as well, then I'm down. Sounds like fun because obviously that's what I'm saying. The original Barney's like that below where it's really, really aimed at kids to the point that if you're an adult, it's just not fun to watch. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I remember watching Barney, obviously. I think it was like Saturday or Sunday morning early. The episode would be on every week. But obviously I don't have a super attachment to Barney. I just find it interesting, the wording that's used in here about seeing if his message can stand the test of time. As this slash film article asks, even exploring whether the concept of "I love you, you love me" still stands the test of time, makes it sound like they're going to see whether Barney can stay true to his word. Would Barney still love someone if they robbed a bank? Would Barney love a murderer? Would Barney love someone who colluded with the Russians?
Wow, they're going there.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see it take, I guess, in the wake of films like Lego Movie and that kind of thing, that kind of mixed it up and made it a bit more interesting than the basic tie-in or phoning it in fare that I feel like can easily be done with this kind of property. So I don't know what Barney's going to be, but I mean, it's just a weird story.
Big purple dinosaur. What's not to love?
He is going to be a big purple dinosaur. Maybe it's a
Where's
Jurassic
Clifford
Park
next?
Maybe it's a Jurassic World tie-in.
That's hyped up.
What if it's a connected monster fight universe like Hong Kong, like
Is
the other thing?
Barney
but
versus
it's,
Godzilla.
HR Puff and stuff. No,
Oh,
HR
no.
Puff and stuff and Barney.
Yeah.
Bring back HR Puff and stuff.
Nobody remembers.
Shout out to that Pleasure Explosion episode, since that's what we're doing all week.
Yeah. Yeah. And then on Twitter, Disney Plus has been announcing or mentioning a lot of what movies are going to be coming to Disney Plus in the coming, less than a month now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, films like Willow, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and Oliver and Company will all be coming to Disney Plus. So I figured we'd have a little game called "Is it going to be on Disney Plus?" I've got 2 films for you guys, for each of you, that I've found. You guys have got to tell me which one is on Disney Plus. All right?
Let's start doing theme songs. Is it
Yeah.
gonna be Disney Plus?
Simon? All right, who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
All right, Nick. Which is on Disney Plus? The Sound of Music, the 1965 American musical drama starring Julia Andrews and Christopher Plummer, or Grease, the 1978 American musical romantic comedy starring John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John. Which one is on Disney Plus?
Grease.
No, The Sound of Music is on Disney Plus. Oh, that's not good.
That's a shame.
That is a shame. Dylan, which one is on Disney Plus? The Biscuit Eater from 1972. The remake of the popular 1940s film about 2 Georgia boys who ignored their racial differences to team up and befriend a feral bird dog who they trained to participate in the field trials. Or
What the fuck?
Or Change of Habit, a 1969 American musical drama film in which an incognito nun tries to help a doctor clean up an inner city ghetto, with the pair growing closer as time goes on.
I'm glad I went first.
I was about to say, did Nick, are you doing it on random or like?
Yep.
Because I was like, Nick got fucking Sound of Music fix. I haven't heard of either of these movies, so I'm gonna say A.
That is correct. Biscuit Eater
Yeah.
is on Disney
Eh.
Plus.
And the one that sounded more racist is the one that is going to be on Disney Plus.
Okay, Nick. Next up, we have The Flim Flam Man, a 1967 American comedy about a rural con artist and an army deserter who cheat the townsfolk and are aided by a rich gal who shields the fleeing duo from the wrath of the pursuing sheriff. Or Candle Shoe, a 1977 American family adventure film, follows an orphan who aims to assist a couple of con men who attempt to steal an old woman's inheritance, but instead tries to save the woman's estate.
Second one.
That is also correct. Ooh, one apiece. All right. Dylan, which one's on Disney Plus? Is it Gooby, a 2009 comedy fantasy drama film about a lovable monster played by Robbie Coltrane who helps a lonely boy through a rough patch? Or Fuzzbucket, a 1986 American adventure film that features Fuzzbucket, an invisible creature who becomes 12-year-old Mikey's best friend?
How did you find these other movies?
Google.
Disney Plus is going to be filled with some fucking garbage.
Is it Gooby or Fuzzbucket?
Can you give me the key difference again?
Robbie Coltrane.
Gooby
Yeah,
is about a lovable monster who helps a boy through a rough patch, and Fuzzbucket is about an invisible creature who helps a young boy through a rough patch. No, Fuzzbucket is the Disney
Damn,
film.
I kind of want to watch it. I kind of wanted to watch Gooby.
You probably can on maybe another streaming service. Nick, which is on Disney Plus. Three Men and a Baby, the 1987 comedy film directed by Leonard Nimoy and starring Tom Selleck, Steve Guttenberg, and Ted Danson, in which three bachelors find themselves forced to take care of a baby left by one of the guy's girlfriends. Or Look Who's Talking, the 1989 American romantic comedy starring John Travolta and Kirstie Alley, in which a single career-minded woman is left on her own to give birth to a child of a married man, but finds a romantic love with a cab driver, while the point of view of the film is told from by a newborn child through voiceover.
I'm hoping it's A because I'm actually kind of wanting to watch that for a while now. But
It is A.
It's B. It is A?
Yes, Three Men and a Baby is a Disney film.
Congrats, Nicholas. You find yourself 12 months of
Alright,
Disney
last
Plus
one.
to check out.
All right, Dylan, which one is the Disney Plus film? Beethoven, the 1992 romantic family comedy starring Charles Grodin and Bonnie Hunt, in which a slobbering Saint Bernard becomes the center of attention for a loving family, but must contend with a dog-napping veterinarian and his henchmen. Or Turner and Hooch, the 1989 American buddy cop comedy starring Tom Hanks, in which a detective must adopt the dog of a dead man to help find the murderer.
Beethoven.
No, Turner and Hooch.
Oh.
So the winner of this episode of What's on Disney Plus, which is on Disney Plus, is Nicholas Pryor. Congratulations.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
I have one last one if you want to take a swing at it. It was going to be a tiebreaker. Do you want a bonus point?
Yeah.
Which is the Disney Plus film? Almost Angels, a 1962 drama that follows a group of boys in the Vienna Boys Choir that follows their recruitments, their rehearsals, and their life in the institution. Or Boy Choir, a 2014 American drama film in which, after a single mother dies, a young boy with an excellent voice is sent to a prestigious choir school and has trouble adapting to the culture of the school.
B.
No, sorry. Almost Angels is the Disney Plus
Do I win
film.
now?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, Nick's is still the winner. So yes, that was an engaging, fun segment. So
that
bring that back.
engaging. Wasn't that a great segment for all you listeners?
Disney Plus owns half the movies in existence, so this might come back. All right, let's move into the last segment of the show. Dylan, what did we end up watching this week?
Something I forgot the name.
Holmes and Watson.
We ended up watching Tragedy Girls.
That's it.
We were just wondering if maybe you could give our blog a shout out.
A shout out from me would be a little off brand.
I have 15,000 followers. You know what that means? A community like this?
More to the left. His heart's more to the left. You're just hitting bone, dude. I'm trying. Mr. High is trending.
I really hope nothing bad happened to him.
It's like poof. He vanished, right?
Anybody could be next, even you.
You can find more information on our Tragedy Girls Twitter page.
Your brains, my charisma. You can do anything.
Quick soundbite from the Tragedy Girls.
OMG, I can't even with this right now.
Are you afraid that the killer will target you because of your infamous blog? We will not take any more shit from this serial killer. I'm so scared right now.
Look amazing.
Jeez. Michaela?
Yes, a 2017 film directed by Tyler McIntyre, starring Alexandra Shipp, Brianna Hildebrand, Josh Hutcherson, Craig Robinson, Kevin Durand, and Jack Quaid, best friends Sadie and Michaela are on a mission to boost their social media fandom as amateur crime reporters hot on the trail of a deranged local serial killer. After they manage to capture the killer and secretly hold him hostage, they realize the best way to get scoops on future victims would be to, murder people themselves. As the @Tragedy Girls become an overnight sensation and panic grips their small town, can their friendship survive the strain of national stardom? Will they get caught? Will their accounts get verified? I saw this on like a under the radar kind of list on like end of last year or something. And then, it's kind of like a horror-esque theme. They kind of want to be horror figures, and it's almost Halloween. So I thought this would be a fun one to put on. It does have like an 86% on Rotten Tomatoes. And then
has a what? 86%?
Yeah, 86%
really?
on Rotten Tomatoes, yes.
Fucking hell.
Alexandra Shipp and Brianna Hildebrand are kind of on the up and up. She was Storm in... Alexandra Shipp was a Storm in the more recent X-Men movies. And then Brianna Hildebrand was Warhead or whatever her full name is. In the Deadpool movies.
Negasonic Teenage Warhead or whatever, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, with all that backstory, Dylan, how'd you feel about the film?
Not very good. I thought it was kind of bad. 86% is high. That's weird. But I thought it was going to go somewhere because I thought the movie was like kind of a black comedy spin on like obsession with social media and like fame and stuff like that. But then I felt like at the end of the movie, it kind of just... I realized that no, I was just making that up in my head and they're just telling some fucking whatever story. Like I thought they had something, they was trying to say something, but they're not. And then by the end, I'm like, okay, I guess this kind of just glorifies serial killers. I don't know. It was weird. I didn't like it.
Okay. I had a fun time. I mean, if I went into it knowing it was like a black comedy and that kind of thing, so them struggling to be amateur serial killers, I guess, and trying to... That kind of thing was a fun, different take that I hadn't seen before. Interesting that this sort of comes out the same kind of... that we watched it in the same sort of period that Joker came out, because at least this film, they admit they're terrible people and they want to kill people. Whereas Joker is like, oh, I don't want to... Oh, society. But yeah, I had a good time. I enjoyed it. I think the kills are pretty good. Obviously, I don't have much of a history in that, so I don't know. There is one involving
Sure? That's something a serial killer would say.
Yeah. There is one involving like a circular saw, I think it's called, or something. That was pretty gruesome. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I think the two leads are pretty charming and that kind of thing. They've got a bit of personality. They have very basic motivations. I enjoyed Jack Quaid as well.
Yeah, well, it was funny seeing him because obviously from the Boys recently, I'm like, oh, it's the main guy from the Boys in this. That's interesting, and he's playing the exact same character as well. He's just Jack Quaid, I guess. That's Jack Quaid apparently. No, the girls have good chemistry together. They work well together, but they're just shit. They're shit people. They're killing people. They're shit people, and I was just like, I don't like yous. Yous are like spoilt bitches. Can you fuck off? Like I didn't like them. I didn't like them. I didn't like the characters. I don't care how good they were. Like their chemistry was together, which was good. But I'm like, they're killing people. And then they're complaining about the amount of followers they're getting on. Like it's my worst nightmare. This like I feel like I was too old to be watching this movie. It's honestly how I felt. This movie made me feel old. I'm like, the joke is that they're trying to kill people to get followers, and then they're complaining when they don't get enough followers, and like they're like, oh, we should fucking post another video and like tweet this and do this. It was like watching fucking 7th graders or something.
It sounds like that fucking awful character in the Spider-Man game where you have to do all those challenges.
Yeah. Whatever. Yeah, I know who you mean. Fuck, I can't remember her name. Media or something. I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah.
that one. I don't know, but yeah, it's that. It's kind of, that's what these characters will end up as in Spider-Man. That's what these two girls will end up as. But yeah, they were I just don't like them. They suck. then it made the movie boring.
Get it? You just don't like narcissism. You know?
Who does?
Narcissists? Yeah, I can understand from a certain point because they don't sort of get their... Okay.
There's no redeeming quality.
They don't get their comeuppance or whatever.
Yeah, the end of the movie isn't like, oh, they've learnt a life lesson and they've become better people and they've like copped some punishment for what they did, or you know, like, or even if they don't cop punishment and they get away with the kills, they turn a new leaf and they learnt their lessons and there's like a happy ending. No one's gonna watch this. Don't watch this movie. I'm telling you not to watch this movie. So spoilers don't matter.
I think you should watch it.
No, you shouldn't watch it. But the end of the movie is the girls kind of split up for a while. They like have a little like fight. Like they're like, oh, blah, blah. And then by the end of the movie, it's like school prom, and then
spoilers.
Yeah, fuck. No, you're not watching the movie, so it's not spoilers. Alexander Shipp's character shows up, and then she's like, oh, like she manages to get what's Brianna Hildebrand. She manages to like make up with her, and they make up, and then they burn the entire school down. They just burn down. They kill everyone in the thing. They lock the doors, burn everyone down on prom night. So they kill like 100 and something. Yeah, they kill like 100 and something students. They wear like freaky masks while they do it, holding knives. It's like lots of that sort of imagery.
Because nobody's looking.
It doesn't make sense at all because they're not seen. But it's just for the shots in the movie, like, to see them looking all like, look at the fucking teen girls and their fucking fucked up masks, and oh, this is cool. And then the end of the movie is like, oh, we're going on a road trip to go to college or whatever that was off to next. I'm like, what was it? Nothing happens. Like, they're bad at the start, and then at the end of the movie,
they're bad at the start, and they get better. It's like a, you know, they improve their skills. You know, they learn they learn to wear more indiscreet clothing. The girl picks her out because she's wearing the shoes that she saw earlier. And then they try to kill Craig Robinson, even though he's like a huge guy.
That was funny. That was a funny scene. That was a funny scene, if not only because they start chucking fucking heavy weights at him, and Craig Robinson's like, what the fuck? And then like at first he wasn't going to do anything, and then he starts chucking weights back at these girls. He was good. He's a good part of the movie. Craig Robinson is the standout from the movie in the short time he's in the movie before he's ultimately, spoilers, killed as well. Josh Hutcherson's in it as well, which I found quite funny. Then he's the first to die. So anyway, no, bad movie.
No,
I watched this and fucking Holmes and Watson in one day, and I was like, wow, Ash has like ordered me to basically bleach my fucking eyeballs. I had to watch trash.
Are you okay, Dylan?
I had to watch trash followed by trash, and I wasn't okay. It was bad. It was a bad day.
No, you're wrong about that.
I'm glad there was a miscommunication then.
Again, 82% on Rotten Tomatoes. So
Rotten Tomatoes can get fucked.
82% from 67 reviews. So, you know, that's a high number.
There's a high percentage of wrong happening, is what you're telling me.
That's like your opinion, dude.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of this episode of What Do You Want to Watch? Nick, where can people find you on the internet if they want to?
On Trakt at Lord and Pryor.
Dylan?
On Twitter and Trakt at Vivaladil, Vivaladil.
You can find me those two places at Ashley Hobley, ASHLEY, You can follow the Explosion Network on Twitter at Explosion Pod. Go over to youtube.com/Explosion Network. You can check out our Joker review discussion that we mentioned briefly over there. Or you can go to explosionnetwork.com, find all the reviews, all my Netflix reviews, all, I think, my Joker review. I'm pretty sure I wrote that one.
You did write it, because I would have given it a lot lower score.
Good memory. Yeah. You can check it out there. If you want to talk about these movies with us, tell Dylan how wrong he is about Tragedy Girls, you can go over to our Discord at explosionnetwork.com/Discord, or send us a private email if you don't want people to know exactly how good Tragedy Girls is, and you want to do it to still be in Dylan's good graces publicly. Send us an email at mail@explosionnetwork.com, or leave us a review if you want to help us out at Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser or on Twitter. Just tweet something really nice about the show and how it is just as good as something as 82% on Rotten Tomatoes, or tell your friends about the show, about how sometimes there's good movies on the show like Tragedy Girls and bad movies on the show like Holmes and Watson. All right, thank you very much for listening to this episode, and until next time, keep watching stuff, I guess. Every trophy counts, or at least that's what Dylan would like you to believe. Join him and me every Tuesday when a shiny new episode of Platinum Explosion dings into podcast feeds. The #1 PlayStation podcast in the Oceanias breaks down all the latest in PlayStation-related news, releases, trophy lists, and much more. Just search your podcast app for Platinum Explosion and subscribe for free now.